Before I even do the introductions, let me just say, I don't even know how to follow Eliza. Give her an understanding ovation. She was... To King Salford, President McCormick, Eliza, my new rock star, to the deans, the faculties, students, staff, administrators, proud parents, family, friends, my wife, our child-to-be. I think I got it all. If I missed anyone, I apologize. We'll do it soon. Now, I realize that one of the things one has to confront when one deals with the arts is the concept of disappointment. And I'm going to start the disappointment early by saying, I am Adam Levin, I am not Adam Levin. Now I realize when you first saw the name, there were some people who said, does this mean Maroon 5 is going to play this game? And Christina Aguilera, CeeLo, and Blake must be hiding around somewhere by the stage. So I'm sorry, there will be no auditions today for The Voice. It's just me. Today we mark a rite of passage. By your dedication and hard work, you've earned the honor that's about to be bestowed upon you. You have a ticket to a destination of your own choosing, a chance to forge your own future, and you have chosen a career in the arts, and all for this, I salute you. Artists, scientists, social innovators have something in common. The love of the question, the willingness to embrace uncertainty. I would venture to say that everything worth doing demands that, because it's a prerequisite for changing the world. Not everyone has a taste for this, nor the courage to do it, but then again, you guys aren't like just anyone. As artists, you've chosen a life of questioning, of testing the limits, your own limits, the limits of art, the limits of meaning and reality. You've chosen truth over comfort, inquiry over complacency, resistance over acceptance. The world needs you and others like you, not to numb audiences with mediocrity or bombard them with trivia, not to distract and divert them with rough cuts of reality, reworked to thrill the Entertainment Tonight crowd, but to show them what is and provoke them to dream what can be. The world needs honest witnesses, people with the guts to seek the meaning of what they see and feel, to explore, to question, courageously, relentlessly. The anthropologist Claude Levi-Strauss said it well. The scientist is not a person who gives the right answers. He's the one who asks the right questions. This is true for the artist as well, and this is true for all citizens of the democratic society. To discover the truths that matter, you as an artist and as a citizen must have the courage to question what others take for granted. You must at the same time embrace the question as a way of life, which means embracing in your heart and in the art you practice the fact of the unknown. There's a cost. The path requires courage and agility. It demands a blend of objectivity and empathy. And above all, it calls for confidence and strength of character, the sort of integrity that holds to principle without losing touch with what's real. There's a benefit as well. By embracing the question, by engaging the unknown on its own terms, you engage the future. Now this may sound like a given, but it isn't. Because while it may be easy for you, having been schooled in a culture of inquiry, to imagine a future different than what we're living today, this is not the general case. Fear and doubt have crippled our politics and numbed our culture. The future is seen as a threat, and stasis is the best we can do. Big dreams are boiled down to big cars, big houses, big paychecks. In short, hope has been left by the wayside and imagination is in short supply. But when I reflect upon the wealth and talent and imagination present here today, I'm confident that we can and will do better. And while there are serious threats ahead, from global warming to urban poverty, from disease and illiteracy to deep-rooted misogyny, I look forward to a transformed future, and new ideas don't scare me. I'm firmly in the camp of composer John Cage, who said, "I can't understand why people are frightened of new ideas. I'm frightened of the old ones." In short, I'm an optimist. And as an optimist, I see the challenges ahead as an opportunity to remake the world we share for the better. I see creative souls like you as the catalyst. "It's not what you see that's art," said Marcel Duchamp. "Art is the gap." And I would add, art is an interrogative. It asks, it invites, it opens. The blank page, the blank canvas, the empty stage, the silent auditorium. Each of these is a question waiting to be asked. What will happen there? What will we discover? Where will it lead us? As you practice your art, it's your questions that will set those journeys in motion. Even your closing lines and final brushstrokes. Your codas and curtain calls will be a precursor to thought, to feeling, to action. And that to me is the true value of originality. Far more than profit and fame that come from copyrights and bylines. Your work is a knock on the door of human possibility, a bell rung in human consciousness, a spur to further invention. The new that you produce is a challenge to be taken up by those who follow, a wager on the future, and an invitation to create it. As the great American playwright Arthur Miller put it, the job is to ask questions. It always was. And to ask them as inexorably as I can, to face the absence of precise answers with a certain humility. Miller knew the value of the question. He also knew its risks. His 1953 play, The Crucible, which dramatized the 17th century Salem witch trials, was an allegory of the persecution of artists and activists under McCarthyism. The following year, Miller was denied a passport to attend the play's London opening. 2 years later, he himself was convicted of contempt of Congress when he refused to name names before the House Committee on Un-American Activities. Miller's case exemplifies the gap between questioning and interrogation, between a culture of inquiry and invention, and one based on fear and intimidation. And it provides ample evidence, if evidence is needed, that those in power will fight hard to keep the right questions from being asked, to decide which truths can be told and which will be buried, which voices will be heard, and which will simply disappear. Above all, Miller's case, like thousands more, shows how desperately we need artists who are willing to ask questions to which they don't yet know the answers, and then follow the thread wherever it leads. Artists generate turbulence and dissent. They invite new guests to sit at the table, new voices to join the choir. They make people wonder. They give people hope. They open the door to an unknown future. That power to inspire is precisely why so much effort went into silencing screenwriters, actors, and directors in the early years of the Cold War, when Senator Joseph McCarthy flouted every standard of decency to find, brand, and blacklist supposed communists in Hollywood. Actors and directors like Orson Welles and Paul Robeson, authors and playwrights like Langston Hughes, Dashiell Hammett, Lillian Hellman, and Miller himself. Conductors and composers like Leonard Bernstein and Aaron Copland, all were pursued by McCarthy. To him and his supporters, they had to be reined in, they had to be silenced, they had to be brought down. To achieve the same effect today, it's common practice to flatten reality into pre-digested talking points and made-for-TV characters, bearing truth in a landslide of trivial lies. This approach offers the tactical advantage of combining the popular desire for a scapegoat with the quick buzz of bringing misfortune to others, effectively boosting ratings, winning elections, or stifling dissent. It's no wonder that the American political landscape often feels like a bad reality TV series. Thomas Pynchon summed it up nicely in Gravity's Rainbow. He said, if they can catch you asking the wrong questions, they don't have to worry about the answers. When I graduated Stanford in 1971, veteran CBS journalist Eric Severide gave a commencement address that still haunts me today. It was a time of deep divisions driven by vicious racism and an unpopular war. Severide spoke of those divisions and of how easily we can be led to disregard the complexity and humanity of those outside our circle. He said many now see human beings as symbols. It is enough for them to characterize those of whom they disapprove as pigs or hippies or Bolsheviks or capitalists or bourgeoisie. By this mental exercise, their enemies are automatically dehumanized and can, with a clear conscience, be executed, imprisoned, exiled, or shouted down. Since they are unhuman, they are presumed not to bleed when stabbed. This is perhaps the profoundest corruption of our time. This profound corruption that Severide spoke about, the mental violence that reduces living, breathing human beings to symbols and stereotypes, is, if anything, more pervasive today. It is beyond any doubt used more consciously and cynically than ever by the frauds and flatteners of reality who now dominate our media. I believe Severide saw it as a corruption of truth as well as ideology, and saw the culture of inquiry as a powerful antidote to this lethal poison. The arts have a powerful part to play in delivering that antidote. Today, our society is still in war. Some battles are new, some as old as human history. Make no mistake, while some have the nerve to deny it, there is a war on women being waged in this country and across the world, from the council to the Taliban to the halls of the United States Congress. It must end, and we all have a part to play in ending it. Recently, a certain conservative radio host took it upon himself to lead a public shaming of a 30-year-old. Why? Because she had the audacity to suggest that in the institutions of our democratic government, women's voices should be heard on the issue of women's reproductive health. The language of his tirade was extreme and revealing, and his contempt couldn't have been more clear. Contempt for women, for language, logic, and evidence in your honest discourse. I won't repeat the vile language used, which in any case says more about the speaker than the person spoken of. But I will say what should be clear to anyone who heard it. The language chosen was meant to shame, demean, intimidate, and exclude women from the debate, just as they've been excluded from the congressional hearing that started the whole mess. It was a hearing on women's reproductive health whose witness list consisted entirely of men. Mere religious leaders, shades of 17th century Salem. Somewhere, Arthur Miller was smiling a wry smile. Now it should be clear, because in a few notable cases it wasn't. To hear someone who clearly couldn't afford to alienate members of a party say, "It's not the language I would have used," makes me wonder what the right language would have been. When a politician comments that an entertainer can be absurd, I have to ask, in what universe pornographic slander counts as entertainment? On the other hand, there were people, like a former assistant to a president, who called the rant brutal, ugly, and deliberative, making it plain, as did thousands of others, that this was a matter of decency and not of party. But the most admirable response was of Sandra Fluke herself, who, despite her understandable shock, tried to see this for what it is and succeeded. Looking past grotesque language and vicious tones, she zeroed in on its purpose to bully and intimidate her and women like her into shutting up and stepping back. It was, she said, an attempt to silence me, to silence the millions of women and men who support them, who have been speaking out about this issue. She would not be silenced. She refused to be distracted by vile comparisons and twisted logic. She brushed off cheap insults, cartoonish fantasies, and locker room language. She kept her wits about her, kept it classy, and never backed down. She kept speaking out, not to defend herself against praised pornographic rants. Its delusional logic made that unnecessary, but to turn our attention back to the question at hand. To insist that a reasoned dialogue is necessary and that women will not be excluded from the debate. As a result, an amazing thing happened. He lost. The would-be shaming failed, boomeranging back on the would-be assailant. In the end, he only humiliated himself and lost millions for good measure. Why does that matter here? Some of you asked the question a minute ago. Why does it matter here? Because as artists, you know that. It demonstrates the power of the question. It illustrates what can happen when you have courage and conviction to follow wherever inquiry and inspiration lead, in politics and art, in science or society. Refuse to submit to the soundbite culture of fragmentation, segmentation, disconnection, and division. Sandra Fluke spoke honestly with an integrity in her own voice and found that millions of people had her back, as you will do, and they will have your back. And you can do worse than follow her example. Now let me offer a few words of advice. People will warn you against taking chances. Ignore them. People will offer you a life with no room for your vision. Refuse them. People will seek to smother your curiosity in a plush bed of certainty. Resist them. As an artist, you will always be questioning and testing your own practice of your art. The arts are driven by a spirit of inquiry and exploration, by a willingness to try new things, a passion for the unknown, a fascination with boundaries and what lies beyond them. You are possessed of a relentless inventiveness, a love affair with what's true and new, a conviction that together, honesty and talent will lead to something unique and irreplaceable. Sometimes these questions lead you to places that are uncomfortable for you and others, to inconvenient truths, to visions that aren't on anyone's wish list, to realities that are a bit too real. But not for you, because you're wired like that. You were born this way, and your craft has given you the tools that will take you from passion to exploration to realism. As Rudy wrote to a young poet, have patience with everything that remains. Have patience with everything that remains unsolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms and like books in a foreign language. Now I'm going to ask you to imagine for a minute what I see today when I look at you. And although this is your day, I'm going to ask you just for a minute to turn your thoughts from the lives you're about to become, that you're about to embark on, and imagine the generation that will come after you. Imagine the children will be born on this day, your day, or this week, or this month, the children the summer will bring. The children of 2012, the year you start taking on the world's challenges and making them your own. My son will be one of those children. God willing, he'll be with us in July. And I wonder in a couple of decades, when he's sitting where you are sitting now, what world will he see? Since the odds may not be in my favor, and I may not have the opportunity to share this day with him, I entrust the future to you, so the answer is up to you. So now go from this place on this glorious day with all the love, support, and blessings that we can give you. Do what you do. Enrich the world. Connect hearts and minds. Multiply voices and perspectives, and endlessly, relentlessly, joyfully question, question, question. For yourselves and all who come after you, throw open that door and make us proud. Thank you.